What's up, guys? Today, there's several things I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to try to just treat this like a podcast or something. I don't want to waste any more time, so I'm just going to get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is this news today. Um, I can't believe NASCAR continues to go back to their bag of gimmicks. So the latest gimmick now is they are reconfiguring Atlanta, one of the most iconic racetracks in the history of NASCAR. So much history, so much great racing in the past. Yeah, I know people haven't been happy with the racing there in the past few years, but for me, the problem has nothing to do with the track. Very little to do. I mean, the one thing I might agree with is, yeah, it could use a repave. That track is extremely worn. Some people might argue that that might help produce better racing. I tend to kind of agree, but I'm in the air about that. At the end of the day, you do have to repave the place at some point, so I don't have a problem with that. The problem is they're reconfiguring it. They're going to add banking. So the NASCAR is going in a. I thought we were in agreement, right? And when I say we, I mean like the racing community, the fans, and NASCAR. I thought we came to a consensus that pack racing really doesn't belong at mile and a half tracks, these other tracks, that maybe we should just leave that to Daytona and Talladega. I mean, it's bad enough we got to sit through 4 races a year of awful pack racing. Pack racing, in my opinion, is garbage. I don't understand people's fascination with it. The only exciting parts are the wrecks and the last lap or two, because usually these races end in big wrecks. And 95, at least 95% of the race is just watching a conga line of cars that are glued together. It's a manipulated form of racing. I don't get it. I don't see the excitement about that. And it's boring. It's a conga line of cars, and you're sitting there for 3.5 hours. Pack racing is garbage. That's just my opinion. But I honestly thought that NASCAR learned their lesson and was trying to move away from that. I thought that this is the direction they want to go with the next gen car. And they talked about putting the driving in the driver's hands more, letting the driver be in a more have more control of his destiny. In order for that to happen, you have to make it so that these cars where you have to lift in the corner. This wide open throttle racing is garbage. So, for comparison, I want to talk about what, in my opinion, and is my easily now has taken over as my favorite racetrack in all of NASCAR, which is the Nashville Super Speedway. They call it a super speedway. Technically, it's just a speedway. Super speedway tends to be for something larger than a mile and a half track. Uh, I believe it's like 1.3 miles, so it's not even a mile and a half, but it's close enough, right? You can call it a mile and a half almost. It's a tip, I guess what you would consider a cookie cutter track. But I think we got the best racing all of the year, bar none, hands down. Uh, Especially if you watched the truck and the Xfinity races, it wasn't just the Cup racing that was great. It was all 3 series produced great races. And when I say great races, I'm not talking about it had a really good finish and stage 2 was pretty exciting. It was great from beginning to end. I'm not saying it was the greatest racing of all time. I'm just saying for this year, for a whole race weekend where you watch all 3 series, easily the best racing we got all year. What made the racing so great? Well, it actually felt like old school vintage NASCAR. Mechanical grip. Not only do you have to lift in the corner, and it didn't matter if it was Truck, Xfinity, or Cup. All three series, even with the horrible current race package, you still got good racing. Lifting in the corner, not only lifting, using brake. You can't race there without using your brakes. And one of the reasons for that is the banking. I believe it's only 14 degrees of banking at Nashville. Let me show you real quick. I hope you guys can see this. But yeah, look, it's 1.333 miles. So it's almost a mile and a half. Tri-oval, concrete. 14 degrees of banking. So there's banking, but not a ton of banking. And that is the key. That the speed that you carry there, and you have that little bit of banking, you have to lift and you got to use brake. But there is enough banking where you can race side by side to make passes or even hold someone off and get a run off the corner. If you watched any of the races throughout that weekend at Nashville, you saw it all weekend long. The truck racing was amazing. The Xfinity and the Cup. I fucking love that track. That to me is the best track in the series. And it was one of the best decisions NASCAR made, was to go back there. And there were a lot of people saying stuff like, oh, they went to the wrong Nashville track. I get it. The Fairgrounds is a great track. I'm not saying it's not. And I'm sure at some point in the future they might bring it back. But if you ask me, the Nashville Superspeedway proved that it can provide great racing. And it did it, remember, with this current garbage race package. With this high downforce, low horsepower. I don't fucking understand what NASCAR is doing. And they're going to destroy one of the iconic racetracks in NASCAR, Atlanta. Haven't they fucking learned anything? Like I said, didn't we agree that this high downforce, low horsepower thing needs to go away? That we have to go more towards where you gotta lift. You don't want wide open throttle racing. I thought we were in agreement. And here they are. Let's watch this for a second, and maybe we can...
We've put it off for the last, I think, maybe 7 years. We've stretched it beyond what we thought it would go. So we've gotten more life out of the track. We've listened to the drivers about continuing to patch it. And if you go out to the Atlanta Motor Speedway today and you have a chance to walk the track, you'll see lots and lots of crack filler, of asphalt, patching, and it's really what we had to do to keep the track together over the years. So as we go forward, we know that after this weekend's race, we're going to have to tear it up, and we wanted to do it in a way that was better than what we've ever done before. So not only is the new profile going to be implemented with the steepest banking and a mile and a half in the sport, but we're also going to have the newest technology in paving, and with the goal of creating a racing surface that makes it more raceable than what previously was done. You know, it used to be that once you repaved the track, it would take 4 or 5 years for the pavement to season and for the racing to kind of come in, like we say. But with our technology and paving, we think we're going to be able to have a fantastic race with the first one out of the chute.
How long until we have a nice old racetrack with that brand new pavement, do you think?
Well, that's exactly what we hope to do. We hope that this new pavement will act like old pavement right after we finish. So that is the challenge. When you look at paving, all paving across the globe is focused on paving a street or a parking lot and making it last forever. But when you're paving a racetrack, you're not just paving a surface, you're paving a racing surface, and it's part of the competition, part of the show. And the drivers need some more feedback. And when you have a perfectly paved surface, it's extremely smooth. When you have an older racetrack, it's really gritty. and it has a lot of character in it. And that's what our finished product is going to be like at Atlanta Motor Speedway when we finish up before the race next year.
All right. I can't talk about the repave because I'm not an expert on that. And if what he just talked about is true and it can provide, you know, a seasoned type of grip, I got no problem with that. Like I said, the place needs a repave, great. And if they're successful in paving it with a different type of surface where it feels like it's got some season in it, that's great. And then you can possibly get, you know, the type of tire where you need, where it creates this comers and goers type of racing. I got no problem with that part of it. It's this fucking banking. They're going to 28 degrees, 24 towards the lower. It's fucking insane. Why are you doing this? This is to promote wide open throttle racing, pack racing. That's the fucking problem I have. They shouldn't be adding banking. If anything, they should be removing banking. So let me see this real quick. I just
How long until we have a
shut up. Okay. Current banking 24 to 28. They're adding 4 degrees at the top. The transition from the apron is going way up to 8 from 4 to 18. The apron stays the same. You don't race on the apron. But yeah, the very top of the track is going from 24 to 28. And the transition apron, I guess it's the lower part of the track. It's going way up from 4 to 18. The other thing they're doing is the width of the track is they're shrinking it. So not only are they adding banking, they're giving these drivers less room side by side. They're forcing the cars to be together. They're trying to create Daytona, baby Daytona, as somebody likes to say. And every time I hear that fucking baby Daytona, I literally get nauseous. I want to fucking throw up. This is stupid. Why doesn't NASCAR look at what happened with Nashville and say, why did that racing work so well, even with this current package? Easy. That track only has 14 degrees of banking. You have to lift. You have to even use brake. I'm not saying chop uh, Atlanta down to the same 14. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's 24 right now, maybe reduce it to 20, right? They're going in the wrong direction because they're promoting and pushing pack racing. I swear to God, I don't fucking get why people like pack racing. I don't fucking get it. The worst racing, I don't get it. I've talked about this so many times. Believe me, if you're tired of hearing it, I'm tired of talking about it. I don't know what to say, man. This is a fucking gimmick. And who is this for? You should be trying to mimic what we saw in Nashville. That was old school racing. Mechanical grip, off throttle racing. Lots of uh, competitive side by side racing, people passing. Easily the best race weekend we've had at Nashville. Now, if you want to think about what the worst racing we've had this year, let's just pick the worst 3 races, in my opinion, or the 3 of the most overhyped races of the year turned out to be 3 of the worst. Daytona 500, every year, one of the most overhyped. I thought it was garbage. The Bristol Dirt Race. I I don't get it. I thought it wasn't anywhere near as good as people said it was. Now, I will say this, in all fairness, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't that bad. And I honestly could see that if they can fix the issues of the visibility, to me, that really made it, watching it, bad. You couldn't really see anything. If they can fix that, it could actually be pretty good. So I'm being fair. I'm not saying that it'll never be good. But only judging this year what we saw, it was pretty bad. And of course, Coda. In spite of what some people have told you about how awesome it was a shit show. And it was also one of the most overhyped races of the year. So the three of the most overhyped races of the year, in my opinion, were three of the worst we've seen so far. So, and also Coda, I raced on it in iRacing. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it'll never be good. In fact, it can't be as bad as it was this year. But again, I'm only talking about what we saw this year. It was a shit show. And NASCAR's trying to move away from these bigger oval tracks. And we actually saw one of the best weekends of racing. It wasn't just the Cup, it was all three series were great. When's the last time you actually saw all three series that were all really great racing? And it happened at Nashville, a cookie cutter racetrack, which in my opinion is the best track in the circuit right now. And I already explained why it promotes great racing. And this brings me to this next gen car. This next gen car, I thought, was supposed to be pushing the racing to be more into the driver's hands, getting away from this wide open throttle racing. And I don't get it. Why would you do this to an iconic racetrack if that's the way you want to go? Which I thought we were all in agreement. Apparently not. NASCAR doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. They are just, it just feels like all of their decisions are just made on a whim. Just gimmicky moves. You may destroy this. I mean, look, there's a tiny chance this might turn out to be, provide great racing. I can't 100% say it won't, but just the idea behind this, it makes me sick. We don't want more fucking pack racing. And I'm not speaking for everybody, I get it. But how many times have you seen in maybe a comment section or just other people discussing this stuff, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and how often have you heard people say, bring back the horsepower, take away some of this downforce? They're not saying that because they want to see more pack racing. They're saying that because they see that this experiment that NASCAR has pushed for the past couple of years, ever since that Charlotte All-Star race, is a failure. And people, they see it and they're like, get away from that. I don't know. Let's see what I don't know what to say, man. Bear with me. Oh, by the way, Kyle Larson, this isn't it, but he also had some criticisms about what they're trying to do. He was nice about it because NASCAR drivers have to be careful what they say. NASCAR doesn't like them being overly critical of their product. But he said it. I mean, forget me. One of the best drivers in the sport is not a fan of what they're trying to do there. He knows what he's talking about. And by the way, before I forget, here's another big point. I thought NASCAR, I thought their top priority was safety. Pack racing is one of the most dangerous aspects of NASCAR racing. In fact, the only, more often than not, when people talk about Daytona and Talladega and what was the most exciting part of those races, it's the wrecks. Did we forget Ryan Newman? What happened already? We should be steering away from pack racing. And it's not just the safety. For me, it's the racing sucks. So why are you putting these drivers in a more dangerous situation for worse racing? Who the fuck decided that pack racing is good? I know there's a handful of people out there that actually think it's great. They're fucking wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. Including these guys that like to make videos and tell you how awesome that All-Star race was years ago. And told you how awesome, how NASCAR has to add this to every mile-and-a-half track. And then now, 2 or 3 years later, we see that it's a massive, colossal failure. And people have been doing nothing but complaining about how bad the racing's been the past few years. And it's those guys that push this fucking narrative. I didn't do that. Right after that, I made a video talking about what a mistake it was going to be. That this is not going to work. But you have people out there talking about baby Daytona. This shit pisses me off because it's driving away traditional NASCAR fans that want to see that old school mechanical grip racing. The type of racing we saw at Nashville. I'll admit that the races at Atlanta haven't been that good. But why haven't they been good? It's not the racetrack configuration. That's not why. It's the fucking package. They repave the track and take away a little bit, just a little bit of the banking. And guess what? These guys they're not going to run wide open throttle. They'll lift. Just like at Nashville. Not exactly, because at Nashville, not only do you have to lift, you got to use brake, a lot of brake. And that's what made that race so exciting. Some people actually said it kind of raced like Richmond. I heard some drivers say that. Other people kind of like the old Kentucky. Yeah, that race was all about mechanical grip. And the drivers were up on the fucking wheel. And guess what else? The teams had a chance to actually make adjustments to these cars where you can actually see a tangible difference. Some cars got worse, some cars got better. That's what makes great racing from beginning to end. Not just the ending, oh, what a great finish, and then just ignore that the rest of the race is a fucking shit show. A boring or a colossal fucking bore fest like we see at Daytona and Talladega. I don't understand people who tell people how awesome these races are, these pack races, when you're sitting there watching a conga line of cars like this for 3.5 hours. Oh, there's a big wreck. That's the only time it's exciting. And the ending of all those races, they're all exciting, but for the wrong reasons. They're exciting because these drivers are forced to make these big moves because they know the race is about to end and you got to make a desperate move. And that's what creates these big wrecks. You want more of that? I don't get it. Kyle Larson also doesn't get it. He's not happy about it. All right, let's I'll try to keep things moving. Um Oh, look who's here, Mr. Baby Daytona himself. Auto Club short track, Chicago street course, and now Atlanta reconfiguration. NASCAR and iRacing's partnership being put to use in big ways this year. I don't know what this tweet means. It sounds to me like he's thrilled about these gimmicks. I don't want people to think I'm bashing this guy. He makes good videos. He seems like a nice guy. He really cares about NASCAR. But I have to say, it just feels to me like even when he does criticize NASCAR, he doesn't want to go too far because he has a big audience and NASCAR and him have a partnership. He does get to speak to people on the inside. He gets a lot of good information. And what happens with people in media, this happens in all forms of media, they don't want to ruin that access. And if they're too critical of certain people, they're going to get cut off. He doesn't want to hurt that access he has with NASCAR. So I get it why he doesn't want to go too far with the criticism, but it doesn't excuse it. He's one of the people that raved about that All-Star race. That remember that big experiment with the pack racing. I think it was like 3 years ago, or whatever it was. He's one of them. He's not the only one. There's a group of them, but they all were like, "Oh my God, we need this every week, NASCAR." And guess what? NASCAR listened to them, and they tried to do that. They gave us this horrendous package that everyone hates now. I just want to see one of these guys come out and say, "You know what? I was wrong. I thought this was going to be good for NASCAR. It's not. We need to get away from that. Just take a little ownership." I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, and who knows? Maybe you guys think I'm wrong about all of this. But I promise you, if and when I find out that maybe I'm wrong on something, I will not hesitate to say, "You know what? I was wrong." So I read this and it just sound, and I don't want to assume too much. It sounds to me like he's thrilled about it. NASCAR and iRacing's partnership being put to use in big ways this year. Yeah, big ways. Colossally big ways. Failures. Gimmicks. This reconfiguration, this promotion of pack racing. Garbage. I don't fucking get it. Bear with me, guys. I just want to see if there's anything else. No. I did see something earlier somebody posted, which I 1000% agree. Where is it? If I don't find it, I'm not going to waste too much time on it. Another one that told us that, you know, that All-Star race was awesome and we need that type of racing every week. I kind of remember that. I don't want to, I'm not trying to attack people. I'm really not. And I've bit my tongue for a long time. You guys have heard me talk about these things many times, and I never called anyone out directly. I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that, but I'm just fed up. I'm fed up. A lot of these guys, they all help push this fucking package that we have now. And they all complain about the package and have been for the past year or two, but not one of them has said, "You know what, I was one of the guys that kind of pushed for this, and now I realize this is not good." I would at least have respect for that. Pack racing is the worst thing to ever come to NASCAR. And it's bad enough that we get it 4 times a year at Daytona and Talladega. And NASCAR's trying to push this everywhere. I really thought they were trying to get away from that. And speaking of this next gen car, all right. You know what? I don't see it, but somebody else. Oh, here's something interesting. With all due respect, is this really Denny Hamlin? This same group has reconfigured Texas, Kentucky, Bristol with zero driver input. That's another thing that Kyle Larson said, which I agree with. One of those lost a race, Kentucky. Other one, we don't race anymore. And the last one, we put dirt over. But hey, what do drivers know? Thank you. I'm not a fan of Denny Hamlin. I agree 1,000% with what he just said. They know what they're talking about. They don't even talk to the drivers. They just reach into their bag of gimmicks. I wish I could laugh about it like she is, but I can't. They're fucking shitting all over the sport. I don't know who they're trying to appeal to. They're trying to appeal, you know what? They're trying to appeal to all the 12-year-olds that run Daytona and Talladega all day long on NASCAR Heat. When you go online and you want to race online and you're looking at, and all you see are people racing Daytona and Talladega, those are the people they're trying to appeal to. I'm not the only one who feels this way. Ask these guys. And I honestly believe half these drivers don't even like Daytona and Talladega. They'll never badmouth it because they know NASCAR will come down on them. But you think they want to risk their life for a boring conga line? Some of these wrecks, I honestly think some of these guys kind of fall asleep behind the wheel. Just 3 hours of just wide open. They doze off, and then whoa! You ever drove late at night on a long trip, and then you kind of doze off a little bit, and then you realize, oh my god, maybe I should pull over. I think that happens. Just a guess. Can't say for sure. Anyhow, yeah. There's a guy that posted something here and it showed how about less banking at Atlanta. And he posted something like, and yeah, how about less banking? How about not making it narrow where these cars are all scrunched together? They're trying to force uh, these cars to be packed together. They think that's exciting. It's dangerous. So it's not just shitty racing, it's dangerous. That's why some of these drivers are speaking out. When they say they didn't even speak to any driver, there's no driver input, that's what they're trying to say. I don't get it. All right. All right. I'm going to move on from that. So, the other thing I want to talk about is Trackhouse buying Ganassi. I'll keep it short. It's exciting on one hand, but I'm kind of sad to see Ganassi go. I've always been a fan of Ganassi Racing. I've always rooted for them. They never really reached the top level. They've always been sort of a second tier team. And I like Chip Ganassi. I think he's a cool guy. I think he really did put a lot of effort into Cup racing and NASCAR, and it's gonna be sad to not have that team around. So on one end it's sad, but it's exciting. Trackhouse making big moves, buying Ganassi, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. And I hope Chip Ganassi ends up watching something that he put so much hard work into, maybe reaching another level of success. Even though he's not going to be part of it any longer, I think that would be something that you could feel proud of in some small way at least. As for they're going to two cars. I'm surprised that they're doing it that quickly. So Suarez, thank God, is going to be their long term guy, and it does seem like they really have a good thing going, and these guys really believe in him. I'm really happy with everything going on at Trackhouse and Suarez, and I honestly think that even the people that didn't believe in him and thought he was a bust, I think even some of them would have to admit, you know what, the guy really can drive, and he just needed the right opportunity. You know, so anyway, the big thing is who's going to be the next driver. I'm just going to put my 2 cents really quick. I don't know who they're going to get, but if I'm Trackhouse, I would do everything I could to get Kurt Busch to stay there and stay with Trackhouse. Uh, the reason why is, first of all, Kurt Busch is still one of the best drivers in the sport. Even though he's a bit older now, he is in the late stage of his career, but he still can wheel a race car, and I think he proves it every week. So talent wise, that's one reason. But I think an even more important reason is his experience. The fact that he's a former champion, he has so much a wealth of knowledge that I think would be valuable not only to like Suarez as a teammate, but to the organization as a whole. The feedback that he can give on the car is valuable. And I think Trackhouse would be the best move they can make is make sure they have a really solid veteran driver. You need an experienced guy. It I could see the temptation of going out and getting one of these young bucks, down in Xfinity or something that are the guys can race, man. They're young, but is that really beneficial to Trackhouse Racing moving forward as a new team to building for a bigger future? I don't think so. I think that a guy like Kurt Busch would be extremely valuable because what you need is experience. What you need is a guy that can actually help you from the driver's perspective and translating the information and feedback to the engineers, and that is going to have a snowball effect uh, in a positive way to the entire organization. And I think that he can help Suarez. Suarez is still kind of young, and it's to me it's a net positive if you can get him to stay. Whether he wants to is a different story. Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe he wants to go to 2311, which would be beneficial to 2311, but for the same reasons I just said. And I think he can help Bubba Wallace. So either way, I think he's going to be I think he is a hot commodity. And I think if I'm either one of these new teams, that's who I want. I want a veteran that can still race. It's not like he's washed up and it's just going to be about what he can bring from his mind. He can still race. And I do honestly think he can still race for another 2, maybe even 3 years. Sign the guy. And by the time his contract's up, you can move on. And then you can try to go out and get whoever the next hot, young talent is. But to me, you'll be in a better position then as an organization. They're still growing. They're still figuring things out. It's amazing that they are doing as well as they are at this stage. It's exciting to me. I did not expect it, and I'm happy. I'm enjoying this season. I really am. In spite of some of the criticisms I have, for the most part, I have been enjoying this season. I love watching these guys. it really sucked this weekend. They had transmission problems, but when they finally did get back on the track, his lap times were comparable to some of the faster guys. So, you know, I have all the confidence in the world in Suarez as a driver, and I have a lot of confidence in this team. It seems like they really are going about this the right way. They seem to know what they're doing, and this is a huge purchase. So that's the only question: who's going to be the second guy next year? And I really think it's in their best interest to do what they can to lure Kurt Busch to stay there. I think that would be valuable to the entire organization. So moving on from that, I'm going to talk a little bit of iRacing. I've been on iRacing almost a year now, and I'm enjoying it. And there's a lot of, good moments. When it's good, it's good. But when it's bad, it's a lot of frustration. It's the typical online racing stuff, racing people online. It's a mixed bag. Um, I do recommend it if you're looking to get into it. Like it's worth it, I think. But I do have to talk about one thing, and it's something that I don't see a lot of when people talk about iRacing. Before I talk about that, I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Mike. He's one of my subscribers. He's the reason I finally made that final push to join iRacing almost a year ago, and he's helped me throughout the entire way. He works with me as a crew chief. Like he'll get in my races, and it really elevates the experience. If you're able to race and actually have people that you know that can guide you, help you through the experience, and even you know serve as a crew chief or a spotter or whatever, it elevates the experience. That's one of the things I've enjoyed most about iRacing. And I honestly think that I wouldn't enjoy iRacing as much as I have if it wasn't for having somebody there who can help guide you, right? And I came in not knowing a lot about race setups. You guys know that. But I've learned. I've picked things up and I've gotten better as a driver. But I have to be honest. I'm not that good. I'm not. And even though I have progressed, I've gotten better. I am at best an average driver. A lot of races, I'm sort of fighting mid pack somewhere. Other races, I've had my share of competitive runs where I'm running top five to top 10. And that's pretty much where when I'm in I would say 95% of the races I'm in, that's the most realistic uh, expectations I can have. Trying to fight for that top 10, and you have to learn to just humble yourself a little bit and just, hey man, you're not. If you think you're going to join and race for wins, even at least right off the bat, you're going to be sorely disappointed. This is a humbling experience, and yeah, I'm enjoying it, but it could be frustrating. It's tough. Every race I'm in, there's always two or three guys that are just like on a whole other level. And you look at the lap times they run, and then you look at your lap times, and you're like, I thought I was squeezing every bit I could out of the car or the truck. And you realize I'm still way off of their pace. So then you take a step back and say, reset, and they're like, okay, listen, I'm fighting for like a top 10 or something, right? If I could do that, I feel good. So I'm enjoying it. I really am. Uh, Shout out to Mr. Mike. And I'm in a league now, Wednesday nights in the trucks. I did put that out there, but I'm reminding you guys, if you care, if you want to watch, you can watch the live stream on the Trackside Racing. All right, hold on. Let me try to. I don't want to screw that up. All right. Bear with me. Trackside Racing. Okay. Trackside Racing Network. Okay. So it's a channel on YouTube. You can go. They do other leagues, but the league that I'm in is the Sim 500. And here's a reminder. Sim 500 is a truck. It's a truck series. It's Wednesday nights, 9 o'clock. Wait a minute. It says schedule. All right. No, yeah. This is a different time zone, but Eastern Standard Time. It's about 9 o'clock. So this week we're at Nashville Super Speedway, the best racetrack, my favorite. It should be a lot of fun, but like I'm letting you guys know, if you do tune in to watch, or also you don't have to watch the live stream. After the live stream, they do post it. You can go back and watch anytime. And yeah, here was at Talladega. I had a good race there actually. I actually had a decent finish. Pocono, I actually felt good in the truck and I got wrecked pretty early in the race and wasn't my fault. I would admit if it was. Somebody kind of pinched me and whatever. But yeah, so it's the Sim 500 Wednesday nights. So uh, you could catch that. Where was I? Okay, iRacing. The one thing I wanted to talk about, and it's a negative, but it's just something, it's not to dissuade people. It's just to let you know the business model of iRacing, in my opinion, I've never seen anything like it. It is, to me, they double dip. And what that means is there's two completely different business models working at the same time. So usually when it comes to games or whatever you want to call it, it's a sim, it's not a game, but let's just using that as an example. There are games you can buy, just buy it straight up and play it all you want. And if they do work on things that are extras like DLC content, you pay extra when they release it. Or there's another business model, which is a subscription service, which is what iRacing is. So you pay a monthly fee and you have access to iRacing, to racing online. They give you a handful of things free off the bat, but then they charge you for every extra car and every extra track as you move up. That's double dipping because you're already paying a monthly subscription. And it's not cheap. Every car is like somewhere between $11 and $13. So every time there's a new car that comes out, like the next gen Cup car, they released, uh, I don't, it might have been a month and something ago, and I jumped on, boom, I had to pay $13 for it or whatever it was. Doesn't matter that I'm already an A license and I worked my way up there. Every track, as you move up or as you know you work your way through the schedule, another $13 for a track or 11 or $12. That's double dipping. And I'm really surprised. I don't really see people talking about stuff like that online or on YouTube or anything. It feels like people want to highlight all the great stuff and they don't really want to show you the bad stuff. And I'm doing this just to let you guys know if you are someone considering jumping into iRacing, it's not to dissuade you, but it's not as cheap as people make it out to be. It's not. And if you add up all the tracks and the cars and all, it's a lot of money while you're paying a monthly subscription. I don't think the monthly subscription is that expensive, but when you look at how you got to pay for everything as you go, it's that's a huge issue that you really have to consider. iRacing is not cheap. Don't let anybody fool you. I can afford it, but just because you can afford something doesn't mean it's a good purchase. Now, I'm enjoying iRacing, and the things it provides are good enough to justify it, but I still have to. That's not cool, man. How they double dip. So that's just something I wanted to bring up. And the last point before I forget, and this kind of goes back to what NASCAR's trying to do, reconfiguring Atlanta and promoting more pack racing and this next gen car. We really don't know what this next gen car is going to produce. We don't know. They haven't tested, as far as I know, in a group of cars. So we don't know how these cars are going to behave. But I can tell you that the limited info that people get from iRacing and this next gen Cup car, I raced it. I've tested it. It's the easiest car to drive in iRacing. One of the easiest. That's not a good thing. You can literally run 35, 40 laps at Atlanta in the current configuration with the worn racetrack. You can run 35, 40 laps and not lift. Wide open throttle. And you get that feel at most tracks. Even Dover. Dover's a place you shouldn't be. You can't really run wide open, but almost wide open. At Dover. I really hope that it's not indicative of what the real next gen Cup car is going to race like. I really hope not. And I don't want to see baby fucking Daytona everywhere. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys got something out of this. I tried to handle it sort of like a podcast, but yeah, I had a few things to just talk about, and that's pretty much it. There's no information on the next game. It's they're starting to cut it close. We're about 3 months away from when they release the game, I guess. And the only reason that they're not already pushing the marketing is because they're still trying to sell every last copy they can of NASCAR Heat 5. That's the only reason. This game is already probably in the late stages and of polish and even maybe testing. Should be. They're only 3 months away, and they've been working on the game for about 2.5 years. So there's no way they don't have enough information that they can start marketing or release a trailer or anything like that. I don't mind that it's taking a while. I don't I don't think it's a good thing to market something so early, right? It's not early now. They are starting to cut things close, but like a lot of developers do, they'll start marketing something way too early. That's not a good thing. So I don't care how long it takes before they start releasing information. What I do care is that when they finally do decide, okay, it's time to start promoting this game and releasing information. When that time comes, I want really good information and detail. I don't want just little snippets of information and you're wondering, what is this? And or asking questions. Um, what's this gonna be like or anything like that. So yeah, if it takes another month before they talk about it, I don't really care. But when they finally do talk about it, make sure you hit everybody with good, solid, pertinent information, the type of things we want to know about the game. So yeah, that's the reason they haven't moved into marketing the next game is because they're still trying to sell every last bit of NASCAR Heat 5 that they can. If you go on Twitter or you look at, all you see is NASCAR Heat 5 and it's a discount and this and that. Believe it or not, there's people out there that might look at it who don't really know there's another game coming. They're not really super hardcore following this. Maybe they got some kid who is just starting to get into NASCAR or wants a racing game, and maybe they look at it and say, "Oh, look, it's on sale." And oh, this is like the latest NASCAR game. It's got to be good. I'll pick it up. It's cheap enough. So they're still making some money on it. I don't know how much, but yeah, they're gonna wait till the last possible minute before they move to marketing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I look forward to your thoughts on the things I was talking about. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. If you're actually excited about Atlanta, an iconic racetrack being completely changed. I think it's being destroyed, and somebody else may look at it as a positive change. Let me know. Let me know why. Let me know why you love pack racing and why you think it's good to try to make more pack racing at you know mid level tracks, speedways and things like that. Tell me why I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe somebody will convince me and I'll be like, you know what? I guess I was wrong about pack racing. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's exciting and I just don't get it. So, yeah, I look forward to your comments later.